good day to stay on. Now's your chance.
Hello and welcome to the TNC podcast, episode number 61. It's the first time we've ever spoken about 3 league wins in a row. I think the last time we've done it was something like September 2016. It's been a glorious week. We're now 4 points off the top of the table, and the setting is even more glorious. Connor, good to see you, mate.
Nice to see
Thank
you,
you
mate.
for welcoming me into your lovely house, and also a nice mug as well. With a
Lovely
cup of tea
mug.
made by your dad, so thank you.
Exactly, 2 football mugs. So
yeah, very much
can't
on
go
point.
wrong.
Let's talk Norwich City. It's been a very good week.
It's been a lovely week, yeah, and probably changed the way everyone's viewed things at the moment. From a seemingly really negative position, it's transcended into something really positive, and suddenly we're looking up as opposed to over our shoulder, which is really nice. So hopefully now we can see this run of form a bit more consistently and over a bit more of a prolonged period.
Yeah.
But certainly looking up.
I mean, we spoke about the Middlesbrough game last week on the podcast, and we were all saying, look, it's a fantastic win, but we've seen these under Daniel Farkas before. We've seen these wins that almost just give them another couple of games just to paper over the cracks a little bit, and then we're back to square one. We then travelled to Reading in midweek. We were given that horrific press conference before when it seemed like the whole team was injured. We've got hernias on Hernandez. Nice little alliteration there. We've got hip problems with Zimmerman and all other issues. Zimmerman makes the team. We go up to Reading. They were coming off the back of a good win against Preston, 3-2. I think it was their first win of the season.
Yep.
And once again, it was controlled, it was disciplined, and it was engaging.
Yeah, really, really good away performance that was, I felt. I thought Reading contributed perhaps for the first half an hour where they had a reluctance to press us a bit and perhaps showed us a little bit too much respect. But after that, it required Norwich to dig in and show a resilience that perhaps we've not seen, particularly equalising so quick after... or scoring so quickly after they equalised. So it was a different type of win to Middlesbrough, but it showed perhaps Norwich had perhaps more faces than people credit them for. So a really positive win and something to build on prior to QPR, which obviously they have. But yeah, that performance, it wasn't perfect, and there were still things that need to be improved. But it was a really dogged away championship performance, which we haven't seen so far this season, so that's another box ticked. Really.
You said that it wasn't perfect. What improvements did you think needed to be made after that Wednesday night
I
crash?
thought the sort of opening to the second half where Norwich were sort of pinned back and went far too deep in terms of their defensive shape far too early, and basically allowed Reading to come onto them and gain momentum. So that made the game a lot more difficult than perhaps it needed to be. And I think there were some tired legs in there on Wednesday that perhaps could have been substituted earlier. But you can't complain about the substitutions because I think they all made an impact. But for me, the major thing was how quickly the defensive line dropped and how deeply it was as well, and that contributed to Reading scoring, I think.
In terms of that lineup on Wednesday, we've talked about that. Hernandez hernia, he's probably going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. He's been the key man this season. Although his performances did drop a little bit, and I think Farkas then said that he's been struggling with this issue for a few weeks, which probably tells us the story. He's dropped out of the squad. Todd Cantwell brought in, a Durham lad. Big pressure on his shoulders because it's a big game for Norwich. Performed excellently well. Got an assist. What have you made of Todd over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I've been impressed with him. There's a nice romance to his story because he's from Norfolk, and although Jamal Lewis and Max Aaron's are nice success stories, they're not Norfolk boys. They're from Luton, so there is a uniqueness about Todd. I mean, I was trying to think this morning. I can't remember the last time Norwich had a player from Norfolk playing for them off the top of my head.
It's really like a Declan Rudd, isn't it, or someone like that?
Yeah, I suppose you're looking at Declan Rudd. So it's been a few years, hasn't it? But yeah, I've been impressed with Todd. He's fitted in fairly well. I mean, he's a different player to Hernandez, and he offers something a bit different. But to Farkas' credit, he's given him a freedom to play, and I think the other players have responded well to him. They know that perhaps they need to cover him a bit more. I think he's been playing the side that Tettey has been in midfield, so they've given him a bit more of a licence to play, which is nice and what he needs.
You say they're a credit to Farkas, and I suppose it is because we were starting to become successful, or certainly mildly successful, with that out and out wingers with Hernandez. You lose Hernandez, you now think, well, we haven't got another out and out winger.
No.
Yannick Wildschut's, out at Bolton, who arguably is our only other out and out winger. Who do we use? And I was thinking, well, I don't know what we do. Is it a change formation? Throw Cantwell in there. It's a different role he's playing, but we seem to have just developed and
yeah, I think so. And I think those wide players have come in a bit more, and it's allowed Aarons and Lewis to push on a lot more than we have seen, which has made Norwich look better going forward. I think so. He's got the balance of it right now, and he's managed to fit Cantwell into the team whereby they can still protect him and still nurture him, but also give him a licence to play and make mistakes as well, which is going to happen with a young player because they're inconsistent. But that pass to Pookie on Wednesday night, illustrates how good he is. So I've been impressed with him, and it's a nice story, and long may it continue for sure.
We talk about there the Finnish man who can certainly finish at the moment. That's now 6 goals in 10 games for Norwich City. I think it was 8 in 11 with the club and country, something like that. The finish on Wednesday night was magnificent. Have we finally found the striker who can put the ball in the back of the net?
I think we have, yeah. What I liked so much about his finish on Wednesday was it was ruthless, it was cold, and it wasn't. It was one that was done with his head. I think it was thought about and beautiful.
Because and you said there, I think we mentioned on the podcast last week. I don't really know when you look at Teemu Pukki. He's not quick, he's not tall, he's not great in the air.
Yeah,
but he scores goals. And I think it is up there, isn't it? He's an intelligent player.
Yeah, he is. And I was saying to my friend prior to the Middlesbrough game, I was like, he can't play Pookie up front by himself because he's going to get physically just completely outdone.
Certainly playing up front on your own.
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
Task
it is. And we've seen Jordan Rhodes struggle at times this year with it. And the way he sort of occupies the space between the midfield and the defence, almost like a false nine, but not really as a false nine, is brilliant. And running out of superlatives for him because he's a fantastic footballer. Of
course, and then Reading equalise, and you think, this is typical Norwich. You're coming off the back of a great win against Middlesbrough. Reading were there for the beating. They were so deep in the first half, playing in front of about 7 fans at the day ski, and you think, how have we let them get back into this? It's a seriously scrappy goal. Is Tim Krul at fault? I'm not so sure, but that. An instant reply. It wasn't something within like 53
64 seconds.
64, okay. Yeah. Maybe being a bit generous with 53. But Mario Vrancic pops up for his first goal for a while, coming back from injury, and you just think, there's something about this now. It's that
there's a smell about, isn't there?
Yeah,
about the team,
and a nice smell.
Yeah, a really nice smell. And as I say, it's been a crazy week because a week ago we were talking about a Middlesbrough win and the need to build consistency, and these 3 games were being sort of highlighted as huge, not just for Daniel Farkas, but I think for Norwich's season. And they've got some upward mobility now, and they're seriously looking at the playoffs, which is scary to say considering where we were a week ago. But the mood around the place is lifted, and they've set a bar for themselves now that they've got to show for a prolonged period and not just September.
Beat Reading, happy days. We then go into QPR, and this was an interesting encounter, wasn't it? Because QPR started the season horrifically. I didn't think McLaren would make it this far into the season. They got pumped 7-1 against West Brom. They got pumped 4-0 by, I think, Bristol City, and they were staring at relegation, even below Ipswich, which is tough at the moment to do that. And then they string 4 wins out of 5 together, and they right up there.
Yeah.
We travelled to Loftus Road, never an easy place to go. We lost their 4-1 last season, of course. Unchanged side. That's only the second time that's happened under Daniel Farkas, where he's gone from games to game where we haven't changed. And once again, I'm saying before off camera, controlled, disciplined, never really felt like we were going to lose the game. And it always felt like there was a goal in us as well. It was good.
Yeah, I watched the game at... my friend, I'll say Ben, and he was saying to me we looked like the home team.
Yeah.
And we did for the first half an hour. We were so assured and so confident in our play, and it was us putting our game onto QPR as opposed to the other way around, which was really nice to see. And it's been a long time since I've seen 2 performances where Norwich have really asserted themselves on the opposition as opposed to the other way around. And I was so impressed, and it's a shame that where Lewis pulled it back into Pookie, where that's a shame that didn't go in, because that would have been a one. It was a brilliant move, yeah. And there was just sequences which were really nice. it was a bit one-dimensional at times, and they struggled to get the ball through to the final third. But as a half, I felt it was one of the best away performances we've seen, probably under Daniel Farkas.
I agree, and it's nice now that we've strung 3 games together where in all 3 of them games, I know there was that 20 minutes against Reading where we didn't look great, but 90 minutes against Borough, 90 minutes against QPR when we did genuinely look good. You talked there about the move for the goal that Pookie nearly scored, or the chance, I should say. The Pookie goal, yes, it's taken a deflection off Tony Leicester. I'm not sure if there's anything in that. Daniel Farkas clearly had a word with him. But once again, that's a wonderful move again. It's tight down the left, and it's Cantwell's quick feet to get it out. Stiepermann popping up with another lovely cross, and the finish from Pookie is clever.
Yeah, it's a good move because it's last season Norwich was so slow when they moved the ball through the thirds. This year it's slow and then it's clicked and it's quicker. And it's transitioned nicely, and it's a wonderful finish from Pookie. And how Sky was saying, he didn't mean it. It's beyond me.
Well, I think McLaren prompted it, didn't he? And I know we got a little bit lucky. I think QPR probably should have had a penalty. Tim Close kind of forgot what sport he was playing temporarily,
but they did break his nose again. So.
Was it actually broken?
Probably.
How many times?
The other way now.
Yeah, he's probably back in shape now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no. Stiepermann, look, let's talk about him because he came in against Borough. I thought he was playing left wing. Then he was sort of central defensive midfield. Then he was an attacking midfield. I saw in the Pinkard actually they'd done a player profile on Marco Stiepermann. It was like age, previous club, stuff like that. And it said position, and it said good question. I don't think anyone knows completely where he plays. But you mentioned there about the time it takes to get through the thirds.
Yeah.
I think it's Stiepermann which has made us tick a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I think Teemu Pukki wouldn't be scoring as many goals as he is if Stiepermann's not using his physicality.
Yeah.
I think those two have worked very well together because he's given Norwich the outball they had when Rhodes played, whilst Puckie's been able to sort of use his intelligence to take up positions further up the pitch. But yeah, he looks a completely rejuvenated player. He looks like he's playing in an actual position. He looks like he's adjusted to English football. His role in Vrancic's goal against Reading was superb.
Yeah.
Almost Yaya Toure-like, the way he just muscled through their defensive line.
Reminded me of sort of a Yannick Vulchka almost.
He had own product though.
Well, it did take a deflection, Connor.
Well, yeah, true. But really impressed with him, and he's just got to show it consistently now. But he looks a player very much at home, which is nice to see because, as you say, he's been labelled as a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
But looks at home now, and long may it continue for him as well.
Emi Buendia yesterday, an interesting one, pulled after 60 minutes and looked absolutely fuming to be taken off.
Yeah, he did.
I thought he played quite well. I thought if anyone was going to be taken off, it was going to be Cantwell. And instead it's Buendia. I thought it was a little harsh on him to take him off.
Yeah, I think it was. Although he's not really had a pre-season.
No, true.
And I don't think he's played a full 90 yet, has he, for Norwich?
No. So, do you think it's merely a fitness issue?
I'd imagine so. I don't know. Maybe Vrancic is a bit more experienced.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can really think of. To see out a game, you want experienced heads and streetwise operators. But no, I've been impressed with Buendia. I think he's one that if they can get going and get ticking consistently, they could. It's funny to say this, but they could sell him for a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's that sort of player. And he's only 21, which is so exciting as well, because if he's 24, he's just sort of getting out of where he can develop, but he's right in the middle of it, and the player that he could be is scary.
We go sort of 3 years back under Alex Neil, and I think he's put it on record that Alex Tettey isn't physically ready to play 3 games a week. His knees are gone. He's now played 3 games in a week. Was fantastic once again.
Yeah.
Alex Tettey, I was dubious when we gave him a 2-year contract. I thought I'm not overly sure the value he was going to bring on the pitch. Instrumental once again. Yeah,
I'm a big Alex Tettey fan. I think he's improved this year as well, which is crazy for a 32-year-old in the way he's moving the ball. He's now thinking forwards.
Yeah.
And he's moving the team up the pitch, and every team needs that defensive midfielder that they can sort of. This is sort of the linchpin that they can angle everything off. Tettey is that for Norwich.
Yeah.
I liken him a bit to when Huddersfield had Jonathan Hogg, and they sort of had this really technical team who could play football, and then they had Jonathan Hogg. Yeah. And Tettey's our Jonathan
Even a dull
Hogg.
name, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jonathan Hogg?
It is. At least Alex Tettey's a bit more colourful than him. But,
Indeed.
But no, I've been really impressed, and I think again, the coaching team need to take credit because of how they've developed him and how they've changed his mindset from, right, I'm going to play an easy ball because I'm not very good at distributing it, to actually I'm going to try and play football. And I don't know how many shots he's had, but I'd probably say he's had more shots in the opening period of this season than he did throughout the entirety of last season.
It seems like the shackles have been let him off a little bit.
Yeah, but also he's still got that intelligence and that experience to know that he's got to sit in front of the back four as well. And I think that's why we've seen an improvement from Moritz Leitner and again, why Todd Cantwell can play as well, because this is now a team that can carry young players, and I think Alex Tettey's a big part of that. In
terms of players that didn't feature yesterday, and two players who will surely be knocking on Daniel Farkas' door now, Jordan Rhodes and Ben Godfrey. Ben Godfrey, arguably the best player in League One last season. When he's been given the chance in Carabao Cup games this year, he's excelled.
Yeah.
And yet he still can't get into the team. He must be thinking, what am I doing wrong here?
Yeah, I think. Well, it's fairly obvious now they see him as a central defender.
Yeah.
So I don't think Norwich are going to play him as a central midfielder anytime soon. I think it's an interesting.
Do you agree with that decision?
It's a very German way of thinking. I think it's. No, I'm not sure. I think either you make a player very, very, very good in one position, or you make him fairly decent at two. And they've obviously gone for fairly decent at two, which gives them a bit more coverage. Obviously, Daniel Farkas likes a smaller squad, so that makes sense, and saves them money because they don't need to buy a centre back. But I think he's seen as almost Tim Close's understudy because of how they're both technical players.
Okay.
And then Hanley and Zimmerman because they're both physical players. I think they're sort of grouped like that. But I think Godfrey is an intriguing case because whilst Norwich are winning games, he's not going to get a look in, and that's the same for anyone. Same for Jordan Rhodes, while Pookie scoring goals. It's a shame, but that's football.
It's amazing, isn't it, that we brought in a Pookie who'd been slated by Celtic fans.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what he'd done. I'd heard of him off Football Manager, but I didn't really know what type of player he was.
Yeah.
Obviously knew a lot about Jordan Rhodes, seasoned Championship goal scorer, and now Jordan Rhodes is Pookie's understudy. It's amazing. What Farkas done with Pookie. Yeah,
Pookie was the punt, wasn't he? And Jordan Rhodes was the one who was guaranteed to score goals.
Yeah.
It's sort of been the other way round. No doubt Rhodes will play his part in this season. It's a squad game.
And he's played well when he has played.
Yeah. I mean, there was a tweet the other night, I can't remember who it was, so apologies. But where they said he came on and sort of had 3-4 touches of the ball, but took the ball to the corner and had a couple of knockdowns and was just playing really intelligently. Whereas if that's a certain Portuguese striker, he might have a shot from 40 yards.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So Rhodes will have a part to play. I think he's just got to be patient because naturally Pookie's going to have a spell where he doesn't score goals.
Yeah.
It's the same with every striker.
Talk there about a certain Portuguese striker. I've got a stat here from the wonderful NCFC numbers. Go and check them out on Twitter. Last season, goals from Norwich City strikers were worth 7 extra points over a 46-game season. This season alone, goals from Pookie have been worth 6 extra points in the last 3 games. We all talk about we need a goal scorer in the Championship. The last time we had success, we had Gary Hooper scoring, Lewis Graben scoring, Jerome scoring. We've struggled the last few seasons because we've had a stroppy Portuguese striker who can't run a consistency together.
Yeah.
It's so valuable, isn't it, in this league? You need a striker who'll score goals. And we found that.
Yeah, you also need someone who's prepared to do the sort of dark arts of the games and run after the ball and work the channels. And even when things haven't been going Pookie's way, he's still been chasing down relentlessly, knowing that he'll get a moment. And when his moments have arrived, he's taken them. And that's what makes him such a special footballer, because he's not just in the Rhodes mould where he can only play in the penalty area. He's not the Grant Holt mould where he wants to get in a fight with everyone and get the ball in the box. He's just instinctive, he's clever, he's intelligent, he's everything Stephen Naismith should have been. But yeah, he's brilliant, and as I say, I've so much praise writing about him and speaking about him. You struggle to things to say which are new, but it's been wonderful, and a wonderful, wonderful bit of scouting, and shows how Norwich are now delving wider into Denmark and countries like that where perhaps it isn't so obvious to look, and that is where this model will excel when they find players like Tom Tribal, Pookie, people like that, and he's a glowing example of how this project can move forward.
Definitely. Final stat from NCFC numbers. It says, savour these 7 days, Canaries fans. It's the first one of 3 wins in a row since February 2017, and the first time they've earned 9 points in a week since September 2016. I want to round off these kind of reviews of the last 2 games talking about our left back and our right back. Max Aarons, Jamal Lewis.
Yeah.
Wow. Just wow.
Brilliant.
Athletes, so switched on as well. Mature decisions.
Yeah.
And they've impressed me so much, mate.
Yeah, they look... I'll be honest, Max Aarons makes me angry because not anything to do with his football ability.
There's not an angry bone in your body, is there?
Well, only because he's a month older than I am, and it's a bit like, look what you could have won. So there's still a part of me that thinks that could be me. But no, Max has been tremendous, and they're both a credit to themselves because, as you say, it's the maturity that they've shown, and there's no egos there. They're very humble, and I think they're as good mentally as they are with their feet, and that has contributed to why they've been so good. I mean, Max Aarons has slotted in pretty much, without fault.
I think we're all forgetting because of how good they are. Certainly with Max Aarons, we saw Jamal Lewis last year, but his proper debut was against Ipswich.
Yeah.
Then he's up against a Tony Pulis side. It hasn't been an easy start for him, has it?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. He's been brilliant, and
of course against Neil Warnock as well in the cup.
Yeah, and he's excelled, and he's shown that he can play against all types of wingers, I think. And not only are they, this goes for both of them, not only are they so good defensively, they're both really good athletes.
Yeah.
And they give Norwich a different option down the sides, which Ivo Pinto had, but wouldn't look over his shoulder, so that meant Tettey had to think backwards. And so there's Norwich almost relying on them because they know how good they are. And as soon as a young player from 18 to 21 steps on a championship football pitch, their valuation goes from here to there. And if there weren't Premier League teams aware, they will be now.
Is there any danger in burning youngsters out? I mean, I suppose we have to look at this and go, we've got an 18-year-old and 2 20-year-olds in Jamal and Todd. Is it a sense of just, while it's going good, just keep throwing them in there? Or do you have to, balance out a little bit and go, look, you've had a good run of games, now let's take a little breath, take a step back and reevaluate again? Yeah,
I think some people would say they want to play games, that every game they want to play. I think you've got to keep them hungry, particularly Todd Cantwell. I think he's had 2 good appearances. It would be clever now for Wycombe to say, right, I'm going to put you on the bench and make him a little bit angry. Yeah. Because I think then he's going to go, right, I'm going to prove you wrong. And psychologically, that can have a bigger advantage. So I think they've got to keep them hungry and they've got to keep them motivated, because as soon as they become comfortable, that's when the inconsistency will come in.
Do you see a bit of a Maddison mindset in Cantwell? I'm not saying he plays in the same way, but there's something about his I don't know, his aura that makes you think there's a Maddison in there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of self-belief, and to get into professional football, you have to. Yeah. It's dog eat dog, isn't it? For a lot of it, and I think for him, what this will prove to be is that all his dedication, all his hard work through the age groups and staying with Norwich City has proved worthwhile. And I think he deserves credit as well, because he's trusted the club when they said, right, we're going to loan you out to Holland in the second tier of Holland. Just stick with us. Yeah. And he's done that, and he's reaping the benefits, because I think there was a lot of talk about whether he was going to be ready this year. Yeah. I personally didn't think he would be. No, I didn't. So I think he's already excelled, and as long as he keeps proving people wrong and keeps believing in himself, then definitely his path could be very similar to Maddison. And you mentioned there about that loan spell to Fortuna City side. I think, Todd's a couple of months younger than me, I think, and I think we all... Does it make you angry?
I never had ability in football, so not really.
Neither did I, really. It still makes me angry.
The dream was over by 9 for me. But, I think we sometimes think that footballers are superhuman. Todd went out to Holland without his girlfriend, without his family, to a foreign-speaking country, in a team with probably a lot of foreign-speaking players, intimidating crowds. That's not easy. No. To just, 1, settle in, to 2, then play great football. He then had that horrible injury. He's come back from that. I'm not blowing hot air up Todd, but I think he's just done fantastically well, and I'm not sure whether that's the culture around Norwich that makes him feel settled, but something's going right to keep bedding these youth players in.
It is, and I think from Todd's point of view, it's really brave to go to Holland. He could have said, I don't fancy that. Yeah. I'll go to Luton on loan, and I'll get kicked off the park every week, and that doesn't help his development as a technical player. but perhaps makes him more suitable for the cutthroat Championship. But he's gone to Holland without his family, probably matured him a lot more as an individual, and he deserves credit for being brave and being one of these British players who go, you know what, I'm going to go abroad to try and add this to my game and try and add that to my game. And there's now a culture at Norwich City where that gap between the youth teams and the senior teams has been bridged a lot more, whereas beyond the Murphy brothers, we've not really seen that for 10 years here. So if I'm playing for the 23s now, I'm going, right, there's a chance now that I could play for the first team, whereas before, if I'm 22, I'm playing for the under 23s, I'm thinking I'm probably going to get released. Yeah. And that's the difference. It's just they've now got a smell of what they can have, and I think as a young player that can drive you on, and particularly for the likes of Adam Ida and Ante, I can't say his last name, but
Spyro.
That's it, Anthony Spyro. I think those two in particular now have a pathway to follow, and that's what Norwich have done under Webber and Farkas. Is they've created a pathway for young players to transition into the first team. Even little things like 15 minutes, right, we're going to drop you in training with the first team, see how you get on. If it's too soon, it's too soon. But that bridge has been gap
has been bridged.
There you go. Yeah, and it seems a lot easier now. Well, not easier. That's perhaps the wrong term. But Farkas willing to drop them in, and I think that's the big difference. They've got a manager who's not dropping a young player in, losing 4-0, and then looking over his shoulder and saying, "Am I going to get sacked here?" He's got the belief from those behind him, which I think is key.
Do you think Fark will be willing to drop in the two Portuguese under 23s you saw from the week, either Pinto and Nelson Oliveira? Will they be returning? 2 goals for Nelson.
I think Pinto will be in and around it.
Yeah.
Nelson, we'll see. Not sure.
Okay. Right, we'll move on to previewing the upcoming fixtures in a moment. This is my favourite bit of the week, though, where we ask you guys for questions on Twitter. And we've got some really good ones, actually. We'll start with Willamot's. I haven't got his Twitter bio. I think it's whether come rain or sun, weeds will always outgrow grass, I think. Anyway, Willamot's, thank you once again for getting your question in. Anyway, he asked while you're reading the bio, Connor, is the master plan for the last 18 months now starting to bear fruit? Passing is precise, still slow, but going forward, and results are there. And we shouldn't fear any teams.
Yeah.
18 months. Is the project now starting to come through? Is our patience starting to?
I think it's, in terms of the overall direction of the project, I think it's still too early to tell, because Norwich lose the next 3, everything goes back to where it was. So.
In terms of the project, in terms of bedding youth in,
definitely,
making money,
definitely.
I suppose that's paying off now, isn't it?
Yeah, off the pitch, I think the project is coming along wonderfully. They've got the redevelopment works at Colney, which is going to improve Norwich. Yeah. Obviously, the pathway for youngsters is improved. We're seeing academy products come through where 2 years ago Alan Irvine was telling us there weren't any that were good enough. Yeah. I think we're now seeing fruit, if you want to say that, in terms of the project, and we're seeing now a genuine direction of where Norwich are going off the pitch. And maybe beginning to see that on the pitch as well.
Yeah, that's the pleasing thing, is it? A bit of direction. Did I nail the Twitter bio, by the way?
I think you did, yeah.
Come rain or sun, weeds will always outgrow grass.
Yeah, come rain or sun, weeds will always outgrow grass. Linked to his website as well.
No, still the same. Still the same Twitter bio. Anyway, thanks, Willamots. Jez from Bears Legend, thank you for letting me around your lovely house to watch the game yesterday. If the whole squad is fit, Connor, and available to play, what is now your starting 11? Now, this is...
It's a difficult question.
Should we stick with the same formation that we've
been playing? I think that's a given.
So we've got Tim Krul in goal.
Yes.
Sad to see Dennis Shrabeni causing injuries to our youth players in Aston Oxborough in the week, but what can you do? An angry German. So we've got. Are we sticking with Max Aarons at right back?
Yeah, I think so.
2 centre backs now. This is an interesting one.
It is, yeah.
Tim Close will put in, or are we dropping him out? Or what? Talk to me. You're the knowledgeable one.
I think you keep Closer in there because he's different. If we're saying between Hanley and Zimmerman, if you put Hanley and Zimmerman in, they're sort of clones of each other, whereas they're not as good technically, but are both that physical.
When you say
both physical,
you say Close is technical. I don't think I've seen him connect the pass yet this season. What is it that's technically good about him?
I think whereas So if Hanley or Zimmerman have the ball,
Yeah.
I think in their head they see, right, I've got the other centre back or I've got the full back.
Yeah.
I think what Klose is good at is being that man who breaks the line and goes, right, I'm going to play into Tettey, or I'm going to play it out to my full back but play it over the winger. And I think he just takes a few more risks, which is probably why he loses the ball a lot more. So I in my mind, I always think of Tim Klose as the technical one. But,
Yeah. It's good to think that.
Yeah, exactly.
So left back, of course, then Jamal Lewis.
Yeah.
Midfield, we've got options. We've got Tom Tribal, Norwich Lion, Alex Tettey, Ben Godfrey. Oh no, Ben Godfrey scrapped. You say
He's a centre half.
He's a centre half. So are we sticking with what we've got at the moment, Norwich Lion and Tettey?
Yeah, I think Norwich have found a role now for Leitner where he can excel. I think before they were sort of putting him into a team, and it was almost like Farkas was throwing all of his midfield options in the air and hoping they landed in a way that was right, and in the end they have. And I think with Leitner next to Tettey, he's got that licence to sort of roam and get the ball and play the ball, which is what he is. I think fans need to move away from this idea that he's a James Maddison replacement and that he's in the team to score goals or get assists. I think he's the guy before the assist.
Yes.
Or he's the guy before the goal. And he's very good at
Isn't
starting...
the guy before the goal the assist?
Yeah, well,
before the assist.
the guy before the assist is probably
I get
better.
that.
But I don't think he's a player who's going to score... I'll be surprised if he gets more than 5 goals this year. He's a player to move the play through the thirds, and he's integral. And when he does that, he looks a real Rolls Royce of a player.
Yeah.
So for him next to Tettey, I think that's a nice blend. You've got someone who's defensively minded, but he's now learning to play forward as well. Next to someone who's not so good going backwards, but is better going forwards and sideways. And I think that helps Norwich in terms of how they want to play.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I do, and I think the midfield has looked far better. Of course, the first name on the team sheet at the moment is Marcus Stiepen,
Absolutely.
so there's no debate surrounding that. Who are the other players behind the striker? If we're sticking with the same formation,
Everyone's fit. Hernandez has got to be in there.
Yeah,
and I think he's very harsh on Cantwell, but I think Hernandez gives Norwich something that they don't have when he's not in the team.
It's that directness again, isn't it?
I'd probably go Hernandez Buendia for me.
Yeah. And then Pookie up front.
And then Pookie up front, yeah.
Okay, nice. That seems
so
like
one change from what they're doing at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of Cantwell, for Hernandez, I love Hernandez, I do. I think he's one of our best players, but do you think our fullbacks have looked better since Hernandez has come out of the team? Do you think there's a bit more licence? Absolutely,
because Norwich in the middle are going more narrow.
Yeah.
Which is helping them play through the thirds, I think, because they're playing the passes in 1-2 touches that they were playing in 3 and 4 last season, and then the width is provided by the fullbacks. It's almost like how Alex Neil used to put his fullbacks on the halfway line all the time, but they're doing it with a bit more responsibility,
a bit better as well.
Yeah, and they're a bit better going backwards.
Yeah.
So they're integral, I think, and also how Norwich are playing the ball out to them. They're playing the ball in front of them now as opposed to their feet. So now they're coming onto it, and that naturally moves Norwich up the pitch. So I think Lewis and Aarons have been integral to this change and this progression. Absolutely.
How's James Husband getting on, by the way? Have you checked?
I haven't, no.
No.
I only saw...
Is he starting?
I know he started against Sunderland the other week, and I want to say he gave away a penalty.
Was it at Fleetwood?
Yeah.
Okay. Under Joey Barton.
Under Joey Barton.
That sounds like carnage.
Does, yeah.
Next question from Ben Ambrose, and I feel like this was put in there for a bit of a throwaway question, but this is something I take very seriously, Ben. What's your ideal meal deal? Now, there's been a bit of a meal deal revolution the past few years, hasn't there? The meal deal seems to be one of the in things with the youth nowadays, and if you don't know what a meal deal is, for any foreign listeners or anything, it's an idea from a supermarket that you get a drink, a snack, and usually a sandwich, although some supermarkets have differed from that a little bit, for around the £3 mark. Now, I'm going to be slightly controversial and just say I'm not a fan of the meal deal.
That's a big claim.
I think the meal deal, for me, it puts shackles on you. It holds you within a box. I like to be a bit more imaginative than that.
There's a nice creativity, though, about having a selective choice.
There is, but you're still held...
I think it's a mind game.
You're still held within a drink, snack and sandwich. Now,
no way, sometimes you can have a chocolate bar.
It's still a snack. Now, for me, if someone's going to, now what do you want for lunch, Jack? I'm going to Norwich Market and I'm maybe getting a little hog roast with some apple sauce in there. I'm certainly heading to the mushy pea stand. If I'm going to the mushy pea store, I'm getting a beef patty and mushy peas with lashings of mint sauce for less than £3. If you want your optional orange squash, that's an extra 40p, but it still comes in under £3. Now I've seen people, and these people are no longer in my life because it was so haunting for me. Get a ham sandwich, a ready packet of ready salted crisps,
No, absolutely.
and a Coke, and I'm thinking
that's the dark arts of meal deals.
Where's the imagination? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
your tin pot. This is not what I want to be seeing at a lunchtime.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, you've got to be creative with it, I think.
Yeah.
And you've got to have a blend of flavours
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Now, what do you think about the pasta pots, or maybe even a sushi dish rather than the sandwich?
I'm not a fan of sushi anyway.
Okay.
I'm not a big seafood eater.
Okay.
So I'd always not touch the sushi.
Okay.
But pasta pots, big fan.
Always get a
Big
strange
fan.
aftertaste with the pasta pots from supermarkets.
Do you think?
Yeah.
But that's why you've got your crisps. Or
Okay.
your snack.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then something to wash it down.
Yeah. Fair. Now, for me, if I am going for a meal deal, I'm looking for the way I can mug the supermarket off the most. So I'm going.
Looking for the most expensive.
I'm going for an
items.
innocent smoothie, even if I don't like
Every
them.
time.
Like a 280 innocent smoothie, that's going straight in my basket. I'm probably going for a pack of maybe Sensations, you know, a bit of a middle class crisp.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And
I
then
like a bit of spice. Just to kick things up a bit.
a bit of an Emmy Buendia.
Yes, it's an injection at lunchtime. It's
Yeah.
like you have a bit of spice and it's like, ooh.
And a good injection.
Exactly,
Of that.
exactly.
And then if I'm going for a sandwich, I'm going for a triple pack. You know, I'm going for a triple chicken. The one where you get the prawn in is always quite nice. The prawn, I think it's a BLT and something like a cheese and pickle, something like that. Really switching things up. But for me, be different. Go independent. You know, go to the mushy pea stand. If you're in Yarmouth, go to Barry's tea stall. Now there I'm looking at a sausage, egg, bacon, hash brown, sandwich. Coming in
Sandwich?
Around, yeah, slip it all in a sandwich.
Okay.
Bit of ketchup, cup of tea. You're still coming in at the under £3 mark.
Yeah.
You can then use that 30p to go to one of the many charity shops.
And they're going to local produce as well.
Of course.
Which is a big
So
bonus.
for me, stay away from the corporations, people, and go local.
Although there is something very satisfying about putting it all through on the self checkout and then saying you've saved £7.
Yeah. Wow.
Beautiful.
Have you ever said? What's your biggest
No, I've probably
ever
not saved £7. I've probably done £4 or something.
Yeah. Good.
But as you say, you want to exploit them as much as you can.
You do. What's your biggest ever saving on a meal deal? Let us know down in the comment section below. Jonathan Parker. Yeah, Jonathan Parker. Is Stiepermann's form over the last few games him finally coming to terms with the league, or is it something that Farkas has coached in, or is it he's finally playing in his preferred position? Now, we don't know what his preferred position is. I don't think Stiepermann knows it.
No.
He was born to score goals, but he was bought as a left back. Now he's a bit of a midfielder. Is this Farkas again, though? Simply coaching him well?
I think it's a blend of the three factors that Jonathan points out, to be fair. I think there is that adjustment. Vrancic has undergone it. Leitner's sort of undergoing it now. Tribal had it. So I think there is definitely that. I think Farkas, to his credit, and he gets a lot of criticism, sometimes rightly so, but I think he's an excellent coach.
Okay.
And I think he if you look at Norwich over the last 18 months and then compare it to Alex Neil's 2 years in charge, there's a lot more individuals where you look at and go, right, he's improved and he's improved. I remember under Alex Neil, I think whether they finished 10th.
Something like that, wasn't it? It might have been, I think it was 8th, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
And I remember the player of the season contest being like, who do we pick here?
Yeah.
Right, we'll give it to Wes.
Yeah.
Whereas now, even sort of from the beginning of the season to now, you can sort of pick out maybe 5 or 6 names for player of the season. And obviously no one's voting now, but that to me shows how Farkas is improving players individually, if not collectively.
Yeah.
And he's been exactly what Norwich need, in the sense that last year they needed to raise funds. Obviously, he's put zeros on the end of players' values, and that is what the club needed at that time.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree.
So what's the question? Yeah, Stiepermann. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the question that was about, is this run that we're starting to go on similar to... I'm trying to find who said it. I might have missed it out.
I'll get it on Twitter.
Anyway, the question was, you find that, is this run that we're now putting together, I think you can call it a run, 3 games.
Yeah,
does it remind you of the 10-game run that we went on last season? So this is coming in from Pookie FC, 34, family man from Pakistan apparently. Do you feel this run is different to last season's September run in the way that we're playing? It feels we're imposing our style on other teams rather than have to defend for the majority of the game and nicking a goal. Would be interested to know your thoughts. Well, Pookie, you're about to know our thoughts. I've printed off that run from last season. Now, this is great prep, and thank you, Connor.
I did wonder what that was, but now that makes sense.
For printing us out. So our 10-game unbeaten run last season, which included how many clean sheets? There was a lot of clean sheets in there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think there might have been 5 or 6. Yeah. So we beat Birmingham 1-0 at home, 0-0 away at Burton, 1-0 away at Sheffield United, 0-0 at home to Bristol City, 1-0 away to Middlesbrough, 2-1 away to Reading, 1-1 against Hull, which included a 96th minute Nelson Oliveira goal, and then a 1-0 win against Ipswich away. Now, all of them games won by 1 goal margin, similar to the past 3 games.
Yeah.
However, I look back at them games, certainly Sheffield United away, there was a lot of 0-0s in there, Middlesbrough away, it was us holding on and nicking a goal rather than taking the game, as Puke FC said there, and imposing our style. It does feel a little different to last season.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can draw comparisons, but you can with everything in life.
Deep.
That's my philosophy.
Nice.
But I think prior to that run, Norwich, I think that would have been around when Norwich got beat by Millwall quite heavily, and that run felt like Daniel Farkas making sure Norwich was solid and getting results to sort of pull them through. Whereas now, you look at Reading, you look at QPR, especially the first half an hour of QPR. Norwich are imposing their style on other teams, whereas in that run, I don't think they did do that.
No.
And I think although Norwich are winning games by, particularly the last 2, have won them by 1 goal margins, I don't think anyone could have complained had Norwich won 3-0 yesterday, or had they have won 3-1 at Reading. I don't think anyone could have complained. So I think there are changes, but I think the big one is they're now playing in a style where they're imposing themselves on other teams as opposed to just sort of being defensively solid and nicking a goal.
And of course, the end of this run, it came after the 1-0 win in the East Anglia derby. I think we then went to Arsenal and it all went sort of tits up from there. We'll talk about the Wycombe game in a moment in the Carabao Cup. Let's go on to the next question. This is from Cameron Meitzer, whatever the name is, good name. What are your thoughts on us closing out games? It's one thing to be a goal ahead, but missed opportunities seem to mean that we're defending to hold on to wins rather than us taking a fairly lethal strike force at teams in the final 20 minutes. I think yesterday we did miss a fair amount of chances, didn't we? Cantwell had a good one, Rhodes had one at the end there.
Rhodes had a great one.
But I never felt like we were going to lose the game. Or it will not even not win the game.
No, and it just makes me laugh with Steve McLaren's drivel.
Yeah,
how he keeps getting employed is beyond me.
And why did he not erect his umbrella yesterday?
The mascot had one, didn't he? I don't know if you saw it at half time. He had like a broken one. I don't know if that was.
I mean, it was lashing at that. If there was any time to get his umbrella out, it was yesterday.
Exactly. Well, he did stay in after half time for a few minutes just to keep nice and dry.
Of course.
I think in terms of how Norwich are seeing out games, it's something you just sort of do, and if you do it, then people sort of go, well, they've done it and that's it.
Yeah.
The key thing is they're doing it. If they're conceding 92nd minute equalisers, then I think that's the point where you look and review it. But in terms of holding out games, particularly in this division, you just find a way, and that's why they're bringing on Vrancic and Tribal to see out games, because they're more defensively minded, streetwise operators, and that's perhaps when the young players in the team become a bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because they haven't got that experience, and saw that a couple of times when Cantwell tried to chip the ball over where he said he slipped. But no, I think we've seen out games. You just do it, and I think there is, as you say, Norwich had chances even in the last sort of 10 minutes from Cantwell, Rhodes.
Yeah.
I think Steepman had a shot as well. So they're still creating chances on the break. And that win yesterday, I think, should have been a lot more comfortable than it was.
You mentioned there about sort of the bringing on of Vrancic and Tribal and Rhodes against Reading. Is that signs that Farkas starting to realise that you do have to make substitutions and be slightly proactive during the 90 minutes? Because the substitutions have been good. I think we maybe should have made one more than we did yesterday, or certainly earlier. But it's been positive. Yeah,
his substitutions have affected games a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, Vrancic came on and scored. yesterday he came on and made that challenge in the penalty area, which I thought was an excellent tackle, but I thought it was a Stonewall penalty.
Yeah.
So I think what you want from your subs is to go on and work as hard as they can for the period they're on there, and to try and make an impact. Rhodes at Reading is a prime example where he didn't go on with a selfish attitude, he went on with a selfless attitude. And that's what substitutes need to do, because they're going on to see out games or try and bring the game to opponents. Vrancic is a great example. I think he's been excellent in his 2 sub appearances. So, but yeah, I think Farkas perhaps is now learning that you need to bring on experienced players to close out games, because Norwich look a lot more solid with when they have those experienced players as opposed to when they have the youthful options.
Definitely. Ducker asks, has Hanley now lost his place in the side? Because for me at the moment, I can't see him coming back into place Zimmerman or closer if we carry on with this brilliant form. It's interesting with Hanley, isn't it? We lose him for 8 weeks, and you think, shit, just as we thought we were going to do something, and instrumental, captain material, and then when you lose him, Zimmerman hadn't played all season really. Ben Godfrey was probably going to be the obvious replacement. He played at Cardiff and the Cup, and
came on at Ipswich, didn't he?
And of course came on at Ipswich and snapped one of their players in halves, which was very enjoyable. But Zimmerman slotted in there. We look back at that run last season, kind of when we had 5 or 6 clean sheets. He was in there once again.
I think it was Zimmerman and closer than.
It was. So look, he's solid, isn't he, Christoph? He is solid and seems to form a partnership with Tim Closer.
Yeah, they complement each other nicely, I think, and they're. I mean, Zimmerman more so, but they're both quite imposing figures in terms of their height. But yeah, I think people forget how big a step up Christoph Zimmerman has made. He came from the fourth tier of
combination.
Well,
essentially.
Yeah, basically, he came from pretty much an amateur league to professional football, and one of, if not the most physical, toughest leagues in certainly Europe, and has done that effortlessly, and it's been remarkable.
Powerhouse of the game, such as John Walters and all of the rest.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I think Zimmerman deserves a lot more credit than perhaps he gets.
Definitely, and is it for me? If Hanley now returns from fitness today, he's not getting back in the team.
No, why should he?
And when we first signed Hanley, and I think he'll very much understand this. I think there was sort of about a 6-week period during that form where we keeping clean sheets for fun, where he was kept out of the side then. He's done it before, he'll do it again, he'll stay fit, and when he does need to come back in the team, I'm sure...
Yeah, he didn't start until about November, did he? Last year, and came second in the player of the season.
I think he came on against Ipswich.
I think he did,
wearing them... I think he was wearing luminous orange boots. That was the 22nd of October, so he'd gone a while.
Yes, it was October, yeah.
Interesting. Where's our next question? This is an interesting one. Bangkok Canary. Pains me to say it. I don't know why it pains you to say it, Bangkok. This is a good question. But we're now looking a better team without Maddison. Maybe we based our style of play too much around one player. Also noticing little things like playing the ball 10 yards in front of the fullbacks as opposed to directly square to them. Fantastic tactical awareness there, Bangkok Canary, and this is something
all the way from Bangkok.
You've said impressive. Definitely. The eye Canary or whatever it's called clearly travels well. I agree. I think we do look a more balanced team without Maddison.
Yeah, I think we do. I think if I look at it from a psychological point of view, I think if you've got a player there who is streets above anyone else in the league and is your main source of productivity. Suddenly, as a player, when he goes, you're thinking, right, I might need to step up now.
Yes.
I might need to run those extra 5 yards when usually I just give it to him and he'd whip one top corner from 20 yards. Suddenly now I'm going to have to make more of an impact. Someone like Marco Stiepermann, I think, there's certainly a mantle to be grabbed, and I think a lot more of them are grabbing it by the scruff of their neck and saying, right, I'm going to be the one who scores that goal. I'm going to be the one who creates the pass or puts that ball in the box. So I think there's a lot more onus on other players now. So yeah, I definitely agree. There's more balance.
And it seems like the Championship it's definitely. We saw with Millwall last season. If you can create a collective, a good core of your team, you don't need them real individual bits of quality. You need, of course, quality throughout the team. But we all knew that James Maddison was going to go on to great things, and he's already doing it in the Premier League. But I think we do look more balanced for sure.
Agreed.
Right, this is coming in. Can't even stapled it over the name.
Have I?
Oh dear, I'm going to have to rip it. James, simply James. He asks, does Oliveira get a chance now against Wycombe? Same sort of questions over whether the lads like Paslak, Godfrey deserve a chance. Now, let's start with Felix Paslak.
Yeah.
When we first signed him, I didn't know who he was, but there was unbelievable excitement from German journalists and a few
Me.
and you who knows about football. We haven't seen him, and when we have seen him, he just looks quite small and interesting.
Yeah, he's had a tough couple of years. I don't know if anyone remembers the Dortmund coach attack, but he was very close to, I think, was it a bomb or something?
I think there was a bomb threat or scare, wasn't there? Something.
Someone
like
broke their hand, and I think he was sitting next to them or along the way, and I think that gave him quite a lot of trauma.
Yeah, you don't want a bomb anywhere near you.
No,
basically.
no, exactly. I don't think he's really recovered that. Otherwise, I think he'd probably be playing for Dortmund because before that he was so good. I think he's their youngest scorer in the Champions League. So there's definitely something there. He got a wrong loan move to Hoffenheim, who didn't really play him because they were sort of above his level.
Yeah.
He's then come to Norwich, and it feels like he's sort of stagnated a bit, which is a shame. But hopefully we'll see him at Wycombe.
Do you want to see him at Wycombe?
Yeah, I'd love to see him at Wycombe. Yeah. I think Max Aaron's 3 games in a week needs a break, and again makes him hungry.
Not Ivo Pinto in at right back?
No,
not
for me.
Okay. Godfrey to start at Wycombe?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then Nelson Oliveira now. Where do we start? With good old Nelson. Went on holiday, it seemed. Looked like he had a lovely little family trip. Then came back and played, was it against Wolves on the 23s or someone?
Yeah.
Wolves.
Was it Wolves? Yeah, someone.
Scores 2 goals.
Yeah.
On his day, Nelson is a good striker. I just don't think that Farkas wants the trouble of it all. And why would you when you've got Pookie and Rhodes ahead of him?
I think he's burnt too many bridges, to be honest, and evidently made it clear how much he wants to leave towards the end of last season. So if he doesn't want to be here, there's no point keeping him here. But at the same time, if he's here and you've got a player of his quality, if suddenly Norwich lose again, people are going, well, you've got Nelson sitting in the background. And he is a wonderful footballer, and there's no disputing that when he wants to be.
Yeah.
But we saw how last year, instead of being that striker and being that selfless runner, often he'd drift out wide and he'd take pot shots from 40 yards that didn't help the team. And if he's not going to be in the right frame of mind, particularly when this squad seems so together, to have a disruptive influence to me seems counterproductive.
The argument from some would be that, your better players are always going to have a slight ego. Is it down to Daniel Farkas' lack of ability to coach big ego players? I'll throw that one in the room. Potentially,
I don't know what happens behind closed doors, so I don't know. Possibly, but I think you've got to show a willingness to work in whatever you do. There's got to be an element of I'm going to knuckle down and work hard. If he's got this sense of entitlement, going, well, I've played in the Premier League and Norwich paid around 5 million for me. I've played for Portugal with Ronaldo, and there is this ego. And Stuart Webber's always been quite keen to dismiss that and say, well, he's been professional, he's training and whatnot.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think he's a really intriguing case, and I think this Wycombe game, if there is any comeback for him, we'll see him at Wycombe. For me, if he's not at Wycombe, I don't see any way back for him.
Definitely. Or I suppose though, if we're going to stick with the same formation in terms of one up front, surely it'll be Jordan Rhodes.
I think Rhodes needs goals, doesn't he?
So it's going to be fascinating to see where his future lies. I don't think it lies with Norwich City.
No, agreed.
Let's quickly talk about these games. Then Wycombe, Carabao Cup, third round.
Third round, yeah.
Yeah, we of course beat
Stevenage, Cardiff.
Is it fourth round then?
Stevenage, Cardiff.
Yeah, it is third round.
Third round, yeah.
Yeah. Coming off the back of a good win against Cardiff in this cup. We've talked about that run last season where we went really good, and I think we were in the playoffs at that point, and then Arsenal came, and we nearly beat them, and we didn't beat them, and then we were rubbish from then on. Where does the Carabao Cup lie in our priorities? Now, first of all, where does it lie in your priority? And second of all, where does it lie in Daniel Farkas' priority list?
For me personally, I think, putting my supporter hat on, I think you want to win any game you can.
Okay.
And if you can get a cup run to accompany a league run, then it's great. But primarily, you want to do well in the league. And if Norwich finish 15th but reach the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, I don't think anyone talks about reaching the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. So it's one of those. It can be a great addition to a season, but it's not a standalone thing that people will point out and go, we've had a bit of a rubbish league season, but look how well we did in the cup. So I think for my priorities is make sure this league form continues, and if we win at Wycombe, great. If we don't, that I'm focused more on Saturday against Wigan. For Daniel Farkas, I think it's a very German way of thinking to go, I'm going to play my strongest team in the cup and the league and just win. Because they do in the German Cup. Bayern Munich will play someone in the equivalent of League Two and play their strongest team. So there's that element to it. I think he might have learnt from Arsenal, but then he played a strong team against Chelsea, and so I'm not sure. I'm really intrigued to see who he picks.
For me, and I'm looking forward to this game actually, mainly because we haven't played Wycombe for a while, have we? But I just don't think with a squad our size and any Championship squad for that matter, I don't think you can have a good cup run and a good league run. I look at Bristol City from a few years back when I think they were second, and they of course got to the semi-final against Man City, blew it in the league. And I was speaking to a Bristol fan just last week and said, it's good memories, but I'd much rather got promoted.
Yeah.
And I was watching even the Manchester City documentary when they were flying through. I know they have the Champions League as well, but with the squad even their size, it's tough to manage with all these cup competitions. And I just look at this and go, is it really? Do we want to be sacrificing players' fitness for the sake of a half decent run? No, for me. Yeah,
I don't. If a team with Pookie plays against Wycombe and does his cruciate ligaments and is out for the year, I don't think Daniel Farkas is going to get much forgiveness. No,
and for me, just look, put out a half decent team. But if we lose, I'll still sleep pretty well at night. Yeah. The big one then is Wigan. Now this is an intriguing one. When the fixtures come out at the start of the season, you looked at this as a definite 3-pointer. Now though, I think they're third in the league, coming off the back of a lovely win against Bristol, who'd won I think 4 in a row up to that point. Yeah, they're doing well, Wigan. Yeah,
they remind me of Sheffield United last year in terms of they're a really good collective. They've obviously got Nick Powell, who's sort of the talismanic figure. Yeah. But they're a good side, and they've carried that momentum from League One up to the Championship, and look a real force to be reckoned with. I don't think they'll fear Norwich. I don't think they'll fear anyone. They've got a good manager in Paul Cook, who is again in a similar vein to Chris Wilder in the sense he was at Portsmouth and got them promoted, then went to Wigan, got them promoted. Yeah. So
bit of a Brexit style manager, could you say?
Possibly, but I think track record in this league with Neil Warnock and Mick McCarthy, that doesn't do too badly. Yeah. But no, I think they'll look to play football where they can. Yeah. But I don't think they'll pretend they're anything they're not.
We say that though, Norwich should be beating them at Carrow if we want to progress into the top 6 this season.
I don't think there's doubt in my mind that if Norwich can replicate that opening half an hour at QPR, they'll win far more than they lose this year. Yeah. And if they can do that against Wigan, I think Norwich will probably have too much for them.
Yeah. Good. Score prediction?
2-1 Norwich.
2-1 Norwich. Okay. Interesting.
What about you?
Wigan? 2-0.
What about Wycombe?
3-1 win. I think we'll go behind against Wycombe and then come back.
That's a shame.
That Wigan one though, I think if we just impose ourselves early doors again, get them on the back foot.
If you impose yourself early,
and take your chance,
you're immediately going to be more confident. Yeah. And Norwich were so much more confident once they had a feel for the game. There was sort of a 10-minute period where they were sort of doing what they did last year and passing it around the back four. But that's just to grow into games. Yeah. And then from there, it needs to click and it needs to go through the first, which they did a lot better. If Norwich can replicate that, I think they'll be fine.
Good. By this rate, we'll have probably won the league by March, I think. And of course,
you never know.
Of course, Leeds lost yesterday as well, so even more chance. Thank you very much for watching this week's edition of the TNC podcast. We'll be back again next week and going forwards for the rest of the season. Conor, thank you very much for the tea and for the hospitality. See you at Wycombe on Tuesday. Bye-bye.